Have you always wanted to work out in VR while getting chased by a giant centipede? Hi, I'm Leanne Pedante, coach and head of fitness for Supernatural, an immersive workout available on the MetaQuest. I am here today with the creator of the first ever dynamic environment available on Supernatural.
What's up, peeps? I'm Goro Fujita.
So, Goro, what inspired you to create the dynamic environment for the song Centipede?
So first of all, I'm a Supernatural athlete. I'm a fan. So I've been working out in Supernatural for a while now. Currently, the targets are matching the beat. And you're listening to the beat and you work out and you forget that you're actually working out, and that's the magic. And you do that in those beautiful environments and scenarios, right? So I was thinking, what if we can even enhance that experience a little bit more by involving the environment, right? So how would it feel like if you're actually immersed inside an animated environment where the environment also moves to the beat? Just imagine you're in a music visualizer and you're working out, you're hitting the targets on beat, but also the environment is moving like that. And that was basically what ignited the idea for those dynamic environments.
And the result is truly amazing. So, what skill sets are required? Like, how do you become the person who knows how to create an environment like this?
It actually requires a lot of different skill sets, something that you might not think about. So I am actually a former breakdancer. I wasn't that good,
Yeah.
But I did my fair share of breakdancing. But I also grew up in a musical family. So my dad was a musician. My brother was like incredible in music. And as my profession, I chose to become an animator. This animation job changed into visual development, changed towards art direction, and now I'm prototyping. But, believe it or not, all of those disciplines, they needed to come together to be able to do this as a one-man band. And obviously, if you would build a map like this, an animated map, usually it's done in teams. But with the help of VR, I was able to create this map all on my own in Quill, and also bring in the sounds in there and animate to the sounds and really feel it out in an immersive space. And it was wild to be in there myself, drawing and battling my own centipede.
I love that. I love the combination that got you to with this project. I always push back against that phrase, jack of all trades, master of none, which I
Yes.
think, people use against themselves when they don't have one singular focus in their life. But I think so often the greatest things we do are because we have this very textured, diverse past. And, I'm sure when you were breakdancing, you weren't doing it with the intention that it would inform your career later necessarily.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
But it has, it ended up being really beneficial. And I think that that's such a wonderful thing to reflect back on.
Absolutely. So there's a phrase that I always love is like the thing that Steve Jobs said at the Stanford University, I believe. He said like you can only connect the dots backwards and not forward, right? Like you say, when I breakdanced, I breakdanced. Like when I did music, and I never knew like how it would come in handy, right? And who knew that someday I would be prototyping for Supernatural, an immersive fitness VR app. Like 20 years ago, I wouldn't even know what that is.
I say that all the time. If I could go back to 25-year-old Leanne and tell her what her job was going to be, she would be like, I don't even know what the words you're saying are.
Right?
What does a fitness instructor in virtual reality do? That's not a job.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I know that you worked with some of the Supernatural team, our choreographers. How does the environment react to the elements in the song and in the choreography in the beat map? Can you explain more about that process?
Yeah, so absolutely. So for me, it was crucial to have the beat map first, right? Because so many movements that you do relying on the beat map. If the targets go up, you do an up movement. If they go down, you do a down movement. So I wanted to emphasize that with the environment as well. So basically, I have the beat map locked, and I was looking at it many times, absorbing it. Which moments do I want to accentuate? Which moments do I want to supercharge, right? And obviously there's so many moments, right? So the priority is always the music and the beat. But luckily the targets are already on beat, so I can just decide which ones I want to emphasize. So that was basically the only point where I corresponded with a Supernatural team, and then basically I went to town and just building the map and listening to the song. Centipede is so visual. What I mean by that is dubstep in general is very visual, right? Like
Yes.
you hear those one sounds, and I can actually see what's happening. And then I was wondering, like, how can I bring that into the workout as well? And like one of my favorite things is where there's this sound and there's those two centipedes like vibrating.
Yes.
It's comedic and it's hilarious, but you feel it, right? So, and that's basically how I built it. I really listened to the music, analyzed it. I think I listened to it like more than 1,000 times, and then really thinking about what visual elements could emphasize the music, but also the beat map, right? So, for example, if you slash down, let the pillars of lava go down. If you slash up, the pillars come up and stuff like that. And obviously, spoiler alert, but when you hit the centipede at the end, right? That's also a very gratifying moment, but that's also on beat, on target. And obviously that's how you finish a boss fight.
That's how you finish a boss fight. That's exactly right. Yeah. I remember back years ago when dubstep came out and I was going to a show in New York and I saw my grandfather and he was like, "What are you doing tonight?" And I said, "Oh, I'm going to see dubstep, this music." And he's like, "What does it sound like?" I was like, "It sounds like if dinosaurs and aliens were fighting each other." Like
yeah, I see that.
But like you said, like your brain creates this theater because the sounds are so visceral that it's begging to be visualized. Like
absolutely, yeah.
What were some of the technical challenges that you faced when creating this?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, I could go deep into this, but it might be a little bit technical for the general audience, but mainly performance. And it's not performance in a way of dancing, right? It's performance in terms of CPU usage, computing power, right? So what that means is like I had to keep the file size pretty small. So in layman's terms, if you have a like 600 dpi poster size Photoshop file, your computer is going to slow down. Same thing with the headset. You have to be mindful of how many polygons you use. So I had to come up with a very efficient way to build this map because there's a limited size like a map can be, because as you know, all the content needs to be streamed to the headset, right? So let's say if we have a 2 GB file, you would wait forever. We don't want that. Like that would be a horrible user experience. So the file needs to be pretty small. But contrary to standard Supernatural environments, which are fairly still, now we have a 4-minute animation. Mm-hmm. How the hell do I put that into like a small package, right? So that was kind of like very challenging for me. Really, like I had to strategize how to prepare the file. And mainly I designed for 180 degrees vision, right? So not 360, what you don't see, I don't have to do, right? And then I was also thinking about what kind of environment could lend itself to be simplified without sacrificing visual fidelity. Right. And that was like kind of like my strategy. And like, how can I reuse assets, right? Like, can I, like, you see those lava pillars that come out, you see the centipede. Can I reuse the centipede multiple times to avoid to duplicate the centipede, right? And then staying on beat and stuff like that, right? So that was definitely the hardest challenge for me, was file size, to keep it small. But not to sacrifice the experience for that. Right?
How did you decide on the elements? Obviously, file size played into some of the decision about what you included in the environment, but where did you get your inspiration for what you landed on?
Yeah, first of all, of course, the song, right? And it says like a giant tropical centipede. Of course, it's gonna be a centipede. But I also looked at the album for Knife Party. It was this black menacing centipede, right? So I'm like, yeah, obviously it's gonna be menacing because that's what you hear, right? It's a pretty visceral but also like aggressive song. So that was clear to me. Now, those centipedes, like said in the song, tropical centipedes, they usually are in tropical environments, right? But I felt like tropical environment would be an overkill for me, because if I do a jungle, I blow up the file size. So, and it's also too friendly to me. Jungle and tropical islands, and to me is something nice,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I was like, no, this needs to be like dirty and grungy and dark.
You need to feel
And
in danger a little bit.
right?
Yes.
So I was like, okay, how about a lava desert, right? It's not tropical, but I did my research. There is giant centipedes in the desert as well, right? So I just, you just do your due diligence. But that's when I came up with like, hey, if I do lava rocks, I can paint them, stylize them in a cartoony way, in a way that they still look awesome, but I don't have to like build trees and plants and stuff like that. Mainly it could be like a vast desert, right? With some rocks and stuff. And then I have a volcano at the horizon spewing out lava and stuff. And then I was also thinking, I want to accentuate the beat. What can I use? Imagine a jungle. What could you use? The leaves, the trees and stuff, but it's not very clear what you can do to accentuate the beat, right? But when I thought about a lava desert, then I was, okay, I could use magma balls, right? Like lava balls coming out and they could explode. So I'm like, this is definitely cool. And then the ground can tremble and break into pieces, and I could use the giant rock pillars as music visualizers, right? Like an equalizer type of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, this could work, right? And out of that, the centipede could go in and out of lava and cause some mayhem and stuff like that. So I was like, these are the ingredients that I need, right? Because then I could have the lava balls, like big lava balls accentuating the main beats, and then the smaller beats that I can accentuate with smaller lava balls, right? And then on big accents, like where the athlete hits the ground, maybe the ground actually moves down, right? And maybe I also use the ground to tremble to the beat. Then it became clear to me, okay, lava desert, I don't want to make it black because the centipede is already black. So I wanted the centipede to be very visible, right? So that was one thing for me. So I was like, okay, what if it's like a brownish, dirty, like, menacing lava desert? And then I made the centipede, put him in there. I built the pillars, I built the lava balls, and then I was like, this is it. This is going to work, right? So, and then I just listened to the music and I just designed everything. Like while I was designing, that's the fun part, right? While I was designing, the music was on loop. One of my fellow animators, Ryan Woodward, he's extremely good in animation in general, but specifically for effects animation. And I asked him once, hey, so what is your inspiration? What do you pull from? And he said, like, yeah, it might sound simple, but just listen to music. And let the music guide you how the rhythm of the animation will play out. And I thought that was beautiful. So I was just really listening to the music. And when I hear those pop, pop beats, I can actually visualize the explosion, right? So that's how I decided to choose these elements you see in this workout.
It's fascinating that what you were inspired to do as a result of what you heard matches so well like what my mind thinks what really should happen when those sounds happen too, like it's very aligned. I also have listened to that song, maybe not as many times as you, but like many times. And yeah, you kind of nailed what I would have expected if I could have just created something.
So glad to hear. Yeah. I mean, that song is cool. So.
Yeah. I mean, and for those that are not part of the supernatural community, it's like probably important to point out that this song in particular means a lot to the supernatural community of athletes. What are you are a supernatural athlete, like what are you hoping that these folks experience in this workout?
So yeah, I think an enhanced workout experience. What I love about the power of VR is immersion, right? You kind of forget that you're working out. And when I first tried Supernatural, I was like, whoa, these are beautiful environments. And then you hear the coach's voice, right? The coach keeps you like distracted from like being exhausted, right? Like right when you like want to drop the batons, you would be in my ear and say like, no, you can do this. And it's really cool. And then sometimes like you and your team, you guys make jokes and stuff, right? And like while you're working out, and that keeps you just going. And I felt like that's like a really powerful way to work out because I like working out, but I don't like working out at home. You don't have anything else to do than just staring at a YouTube video or something like that, while working out. But once you're immersed and you gamify things with targets that you hit, and it gets really hard when you like there's easy mode, medium, and hard, right? Obviously, I'm always on hard mode.
Yeah.
You really break a sweat.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
it's like it's a workout, right?
Workout.
And I felt like that was something so special. So I was like, hey, this is already so great. What if we can immerse the audience even more beyond what exists? And that is when you feel like you're part of the environment. And I wanted the users to feel like they have superpowers, right? You already kind of do with the batons that are virtual, right? Like you think you're holding the batons because visually you see them. And by just smacking the targets, and especially the last special one, right? That you smack, like you have to be careful that you have nothing in your way in the real world, because it happened to me before that I punched the monitor or punched the mirror and stuff, you know. So I was like, okay, what if I can make the audience feel like they're Hulk, right? Or an anime character that just punches into the ground and there's a shockwave. So I was like, okay, we already have the targets. We already have the batons or weapons, right? What if when you slash down, the environment also gets affected by your force? So you basically transcend your energy into the environment. And then you feel like, whoa, did I do this? Right? And I felt like that when I first tried the prototype where we put the animation in and I slash down and that happens. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool, right? Because you really feel like you're affecting the environment. So my goal was, how far can we push things? How far can we enhance the workout experience by giving the audience more superpowers? Yeah. And obviously it's illusions, right? But it's something you feel.
Oh, yeah.
Like once you do this and the environment reacts to you, it's kind of incredible. So that was kind of my number one objective with this, to really supercharge the workout experience, to really immerse people more and giving them the sense that they're more than what they are.
Oh, I love that. Giving people the sense that they're more than what they are, which I think is one of the things that happens in working out when you grow a fitness habit. In general, you start to gain evidence that you're capable of more than what you thought you were. You're stronger than than you thought you could be. And so it is kind of naturally this process of expanding your idea of what is possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're kind of your own worst enemy, right? Like you tell yourself, oh, I can't do that, but then there's a coach like you saying like, no, there's no, giving up. Like just do it and believe me, you can. Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Like you actually don't know what you're capable of, Obviously you probably can't move pillars, but that's the thing, right? Like that's like giving you that sense that you could. Yeah. That makes it even more enjoyable.
It's such a powerful experience. So grab your MetaQuest and let's go battle some centipedes.